Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLuga. Thanks so much for being here Wednesday, August 27th. Jacksonville Jaguars did not claim a single player from other teams that was on the waiver wire today. Waivers were processed at 12 p.m. We now have all the information on the waiver claims. The Jaguars did not submit a claim for any other players from other teams that were waived. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into the Jaguars' depth, the players that the Jaguars released or waived that have been signed elsewhere. I got a little bit more news on the trade between the Jaguars and the Lions for wide receiver Tim Patrick. So we're going to get into all that. Really appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel further, you can also check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. We've also got our brand new, or I should say, we've brought back our Jack's Varsity Dad hat, the teal version. It hasn't been available for a couple years. Go check it out, genjag.com/shop. So looking at the Tim Patrick trade. Tim Patrick comes to Jacksonville. He's now a key depth player for them at the wide receiver position. Really good veteran, strong physical player, good blocker, good hands. That's exactly what the Jaguars wide receiver room needed. Austin Trammell ended up getting waived because the Jaguars added Tim Patrick. They gave up a 6th-round pick in 2026 to do it. Means Austin Trammell gets waived. Would not be surprised to see Austin Trammell added back to the Jaguars practice squad if he clears waivers, right? So Tim Patrick in Jacksonville, 6th-round pick gone, Austin Trammell gone. Good stuff there. That's just kind of some housekeeping. The Jaguars released safety Daniel Thomas yesterday, and he is longtime veteran, special teams ace, really good guy to have in your locker room. He ended up signing with the Detroit Lions, and it's so funny to see all the back and forth between the Jaguars and the Lions. They obviously have some connective tissue beyond just the trades and the moves that have been made, like Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, and Brad Holmes, and a lot of the Lions guys. They all go back to LA, right? It all stems from the Los Angeles Rams, but you've seen now the Jaguars trade for Tim Patrick, Lions wide receiver. You saw it in the draft. The Lions trade up with the Jaguars to go get Isaac Tesla, who's had a really good preseason. Looks like that was actually a good move despite Tesla being way down the consensus board when they picked him. And then you see Daniel Thomas going to the Lions, and he makes sense to be a Lions backup and core special teamer. I definitely see that. I've always liked him a lot. I don't know if they made the right move moving on from him, keeping Antonio Johnson, except the Jaguars had a lot of depth in the safety room. Daniel Thomas is the one that ended up getting released that you didn't know who was going to get released for sure. It was Daniel Thomas. He's in Detroit now. Of the players that the Jaguars waived, Chad Muma ends up in Indy. Very funny to see that, which Indy hired Lou Anarumo to be their defensive coordinator. He didn't coach Chad Muma, but he coached Chad Muma's former teammate, Logan Wilson. So interesting to see if there was any conversations there. Two Wyoming linebackers that will now have been players under Lou Anarumo. That could be something, could be nothing. But Chad Muma probably will be a backup there. I think that they have some, obviously, linebackers that they really like up there in Indy, Zaire Franklin being the top guy. And then you have Jordan Jefferson getting signed by the 49ers. They're a team that really wanted to upgrade their run defense. He's a guy that can be depth in that regard. And then who else was claimed? It was Jefferson, it was Muma, and drawing a blank on the other player right now. There's been a lot of information coming in and out. So Tyler Lacey heading to the Detroit Lions. Again, another connective move between the Lions and the Jaguars. But Tyler Lacey, somebody who, 2 weeks ago was taking starting reps for the Jaguars on the interior of the D-line. And a combination of additions via trade and guys getting healthy led Tyler Lacey from being, looked at as at a time during training camp as a starter to not making the football team. And it's really interesting to see the Jaguars being a team that 4 players who they decided to move on roster cut day have signed elsewhere. You don't see that a lot in Jacksonville typically, and they haven't claimed anyone from other teams. Why is that the case? In my opinion, it's because ever since James Gladstone and Liam Cohen got here, they have made it a priority to continuously add veteran depth at every step of the way. They have added veteran depth. And some of the reasons too is draft picks. Like they had a lot of draft picks this year, and all of them are on the active roster except for the guys that are on injured reserve. Jalen McLeod and Caleb Ransaw. McLeod eligible to return. Ransaw ineligible to return. His rookie season is done, very unfortunately. But veteran additions throughout this offseason and into, even today have been a consistent through line for this new regime, not only in the starting lineup, but as depth players as well. Again, they traded for Tim Patrick when they knew they needed another big-bodied wide receiver, a veteran receiver, somebody who could block on screen plays and do a good job executing in this offense. They added 4 veteran offensive linemen. They ended up trading Fred Johnson, right, for a 7th-round pick. But Robert Hainsey, Patrick McCary starters. Chuma Edoga, a veteran addition who, in my opinion, is probably their 6th best offensive lineman right now. Probably like the top guy off the bench. He's not a center, but at guard or tackle. And obviously Patrick McCary's versatility is huge too. They went and signed Johnny Munt and Hunter Long, 2 veterans who have played in these systems, the McVay tree systems. Hunter Long with LA, Johnny Munt with Minnesota and LA. They went and signed backup quarterback Nick Mullins. Has experience with Grant Udinski in Minnesota, right? And also, with Shanahan, who, those trees are connected as well. Emmanuel Ogbah, DeJuan Smoot, Austin Johnson, Colin Saunders. 3 signings and 1 trade. Veterans who have played in this league and done a good job in this league. All right? Dennis Gardeck. They got him late because he was coming off the ACL. He's going to be a crucial role player for them, special teams and otherwise. He's kind of a demon off the edge. Eric Murray, going to be a starter, but another veteran they signed, Jordan Lewis, same thing. And they brought in veterans at other spots on the secondary that didn't make the team or had injuries, right? Like Levi Wallace, they brought in at one point. They waived him with an injury settlement. So this is a team that mostly through free agency, but also through the draft, establishing more depth with Wyatt Milam, Jonah Monheim, Bashal Tutenley, Quint Allen, Rayon Lane, Jack Kaiser, these depth guys at spots, but they were dead set on adding veteran talent that they thought could fit their locker room, fit their culture, upgrade the floor. And they talked about that right after free agency. They wanted to upgrade the floor of this football team. And even after free agency, the first big wave of free agency ended, they have continued to try to do that. And that's kind of just a different approach than what you've seen in Jacksonville. I don't want to sit here and guarantee that it's going to work, but having veteran role players and veteran backups, veteran depth, guys that there's reason to believe they can work in this system, it makes sense to me. I think the question about the Jaguars is no longer about their depth. It's really about, do they have the top-end guys and the coaching to get the job done? And I don't really personally want to question the coaching too much because I do believe in Liam Cohen. But still, you haven't seen it, him as a head coach. You've seen him coach up an offense about as good as anybody's ever done it, right? The improvement that the Buccaneers had last year was unbelievable. There's also questions about, do they have the offensive line, the starters on the offensive line? I think you look at their backups, you feel really good if any of them have to get in the game overall. But do they have the quality starting offensive line? Do they have enough on the interior defensive line? Do they have good enough secondary players in the starting lineup? These are the things I'm looking at. But looking through the depth chart, you're like, wow, yeah, if he has to get on the field, I feel okay about that overall for most of these guys, which is not something you could really honestly say for a lot of the recent years here in Jacksonville. That's cool. I'm excited to see it. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. And if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.